Listen, since you're stuck for the night, why don't you let me buy you a bite of dinner?
Well, that's very kind of you, Mr. McPherson, but I think that
No excuses now. I'm not accustomed to taking no for an answer.
Mr. McPherson, Mrs. Fletcher already has an engagement for dinner this evening with me.
Yes, I do.
Just trying to be friendly is all.
Oh, yeah, sure.
May I put you under contract?
Well, maybe you'll let me take you to dinner.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of the Cabot Cove Confab podcast. This is Sean.
And Steve. And tonight's episode takes place in Dominion, Alaska. As far away from Maine as you could possibly go. Well, maybe not as far as maybe the UK.
Or
but,
Paris.
Still some
Paris.
distance.
She went to Paris.
Paris.
I mean, she's been to a lot of other places, too, that we haven't mentioned. But anyway, yeah, British Columbia, which is neither British nor is it Columbia. And at when they have the title up there, and I'm thinking, why do they call it British Columbia? Then I realized that would involve actual homework.
Wait a minute. So I said Alaska. This doesn't take place in Alaska.
No, this takes place in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, never mind. Okay, yeah. Dominion, British Columbia.
But wait. Before we talk about that, we have pre-show banter.
Oh, we do?
Pre-show banter.
So what's going on with you, Sean?
Nothing. Actually, I don't have anything. I watched Halloween 4 and Halloween 3 this weekend. And Halloween 4 does not suck. Although it does have a child in it. But yeah. We have a friend named Josh who has a theory that anytime an episode of Doctor Who has a child in it, or there's a scene in a kitchen, that means it's not good. So, anyway, we have feedback.
Okay.
Remember, folks, if you leave feedback on Apple...
Well, you want to hear about what my pre-banter?
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay, we're just going to go right in.
Sure.
It's all about you, Sean.
Well, I think I know what you're going to talk about. Why didn't you just save it for the podcast? But go ahead.
Well, you mentioned Halloween, and I like to play pinball. Did you know they made a Halloween pinball just recently?
I'm not surprised.
I know. I was. Well, I was surprised, but I was not aware that something like that was just recently made. It's not an old pinball machine. It's something that's brand new. So maybe you should start saving your pennies and buy one.
Where am I going to put that in my house?
I don't know.
That would take up like
living room.
Half a... Yeah, that's going to go over well.
Tom's room.
Yeah, that's going to go over real
Dining
well.
room. I don't know.
What do you think he is? An Irish hitman? See what I referenced there? The whole world's going to. So is it the new Halloween? Because it's kind of the new. I don't know if you know this, but there's been like 3 different series of Halloween movies. And the third series just pretended that Halloween 2 and everything after it didn't exist. So they pretty much rebooted it. It's just very bizarre how they did this. Then they have Halloween 1 through 6.
See, I always thought Jamie Lee Curtis was Michael's sister.
Okay, I can explain.
But that wasn't the case in the original film.
That is correct. That is not mentioned in the first film. And it's brought up in the second film. For some reason I don't know why they made that choice, but they talk about it for about 45 seconds, and it's a moment of what would I call a moment of confusion among horror fans, because it's kind of like when the doctor said that he was half human on his mother's side in the TV movie, and it blew everyone's minds. So I guess they didn't like that, and they decided that they wanted to just There's the Rob Zombie movies. He completely... if you didn't like the first movie, and I don't know what kind of communist doesn't like the original Halloween, but apparently you do, you may want to watch the Rob Zombie one. Don't watch it with the kids, though. Not,
huh?
it's pretty violent. So you can imagine. We watched House of a Thousand Corpses, and but
it was very strange. I did see. We did talk about this before we hit record. I did see Ghostbusters Afterlife. I enjoyed that film quite a bit. If you're a fan, I would recommend it. I would say the opening is very good. The last 20 minutes, very good. There is a lot of story, and it gets a little slow in the middle. But otherwise, great film. That's my review.
However, you told me before we started this that you saw it at the Alamo Draft House, and it was the first time you ever went to an Alamo Draft House. And for about 5 minutes, you just went on and on and on about how great the Alamo Draft House is. So
yeah, because nobody was talking. I didn't hear any teenage girls talking in their normal voices, not whispering. I didn't have any kids demanding food, screaming, which has been my ongoing frustration for the past, 10 years going to movie theaters. Every time I go to the movie theater, I'm guaranteed to sit right next to the loudest person in the theater. Guaranteed. I don't know what the fuck that is. It doesn't matter what time of day I go. It doesn't matter if it's a film no one wants to see. I will sit next to the most talkative, obnoxiously loud person in the theater. 100% guaranteed. I cannot avoid it. But going to Alamo Drafthouse was the first experience where I got to watch the movie. And it was absolutely delightful.
Yeah, I would remember I go to the theater myself a lot, or I used to, like before COVID, because I have a Cinemark subscription where I get like a free ticket every month. And I went to go see Life of Pi, Ang Lee movie that came out a few years ago. And there weren't a lot of people in the theater, maybe 10 people total. And down the aisle for me was a couple with a small child, maybe about 4 years old. Well, you know what they thought would be okay? To let their child run around the theater and run up to people, look at them, and then run away. I'm like, he comes over to me, he goes down the aisle, comes all like almost like he thinks I'm somebody else, and stands there and stares at me for 10 seconds, and then, extremely uncomfortable, and then he runs away. Other time I would
imagine that movie is very boring for a child.
Most movies are actually.
Well, like, I went to go see Venom, the second one that just came out a month or so ago. I had a kid screaming behind me wanting his pizza. Because it's where they serve pizza, hot dogs, whatever. They bring the food to you. And not only that, someone brought an infant. Like, they were screaming during the scary parts of the Venom. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you absolutely ruin the experience for everybody else? But again, that's just how it goes for me. Some people are lucky to, get great experiences all the time. Not me. It's like when I go to the grocery store. No matter what line I pick, that line will automatically slow down to a halt. I'll see two lines, and one's moving really quick. The person that's next has got like 5 items. I'll jump into that lane. And all of a sudden, the register breaks down, or the person picks up something that didn't have a UPC code, so they have to go find a runner and go find out and then while the other line I just got out of is now moving quick, so I'll run back to that line, and then all of a sudden something happens over there, and that shuts down. So the one that I just left is now picked back up. It's just, I don't know. I have that kind of luck. I don't understand it. It's just I think
George.
What did
George
he
Carlin
say?
had an old line when he's talking about, he went to Catholic school and religion and church and all that, and if you don't do good, you're going to spend eternity in heaven or hell. And he's like, to give you an idea of what eternity feels like, imagine you're in the grocery store and there's 89 people ahead of you in line, and it's the cashier's first day, and she doesn't speak English, and the power is off. And everybody in line before you is paying by check. Then you begin to feel,
and none of them write the check prior. You think they could write out who the check is to?
Don't get me started.
I can understand. I know you can't write down the amount. I know that, right? But that can take literally 10 seconds if you pre-fill out your check. I don't understand. what's even more bizarre, Sean, are people who use checks today.
Yeah, I
don't even understand that.
I think in the last maybe 2 years ago I saw that. And of course it was an old man. But anyway.
Yeah, it's usually... And they're automatically slow.
Yeah.
Automatically.
Old people, God damn it, just too slow.
But anyway, so it's the kind of luck I have. And but I not today. I had a great time watching that film. It was nice. It was nice. The sound was great. It was like going to the movies. Like I remember. It was just great. I cannot believe I waited this long to finally go to an Alamo Draft House. And they're not paying me for this, by the way. They're not paying Sean and I for that little advert.
Speaking of old people, maybe we should talk about Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
That was a nice segue.
We've been recording for over 10 minutes, and we haven't even started.
Okay, just... By the way, folks, if you... I have not figured out... I did it with the old podcast, then I forgot how to do it, so... if you live in the United States and you leave feedback on Apple Podcasts, we will read it here on the show. So it's like you have your little moment of fame, your 3 minutes of fame in front of maybe, I don't know how many, 400 to 500 listeners, or readers as we call them, which was stolen, by the way, from another podcast. I stole that term from Matt Singer and Bowen Young. But anyway...
Wait, I gotta take a drink.
All right. I didn't mention one of my podcasts. I mentioned somebody else's podcast. All right. So Mike C. 843 the other day left a nice review. He put a couple of fun drunks. Sean and Steve are so fun and entertaining. They even make a dull show like Murder, She Wrote enjoyable. It sounds like neither of them have ever lived in Quebec Cove, though.
Well, it's not a real place, but yeah, you would be correct.
I believe it is based off of... I can't remember the name of the town where I went for vacation now. But, so he's referring... That's a callback to when we did the Columbo Confab, and somebody actually... I don't know if they wrote it in a review.
Galveston, Texas?
What? Oh.
Nothing.
And somebody actually wrote in a review that it's obviously that we've never lived in L.A. because we don't know anything about the geography. And I'm like, what?
That was in Columbo, yeah.
Bloody
that was
fucking
right.
Excuse me. Maybe we should be doing a McLeod podcast instead.
Do you think that person is listening to this?
No. That guy, and I say guy because I looked them up. I actually went and tried to find them. It was a professor of literature in California.
You cyberstalked him.
And
nice.
he wrote negative reviews about all the other Columbo podcasts, too. I'm like, you are the definition, the epitome of the android guy on, or the comic book guy on The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah. Simpsons. You would think someone, if that was their modus operandi, that's what they did, they would just start their own podcast and do it the way they would.
Yeah, fucking do that.
That's what I would recommend. I mean, that's how the TARDIS Tavern started. Yeah. I wanted something very specific in my Doctor Who podcast that was not getting done, or no one else was doing. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. And that's where it all began.
Yeah, and now there's like...
The genesis of that.
There's probably like 14 other drunk Doctor Who podcasts. But we were the first. Anyway.
We're the originators, yeah.
Well, we are the first all-male Murder, She Wrote podcast. So, just saying.
Very good.
All right, speaking of Murder, She Wrote, we're going to talk about an episode from Season 10. Whew! Northern Explosion. Obviously a play off words of Northern Exposure, which came out... I looked this up. I did do some homework. This episode came out in 1994, I believe. Northern Exposure began in 1990. That may explain why you thought it was Alaska, too, because, the title. But...
Right.
This is set in the town of out in the middle of the nowhere town of. Is it Dominion or is it Hobart Creek? No, Hobart Creek is in.
I think. I was a little confused on that. I'm not really sure what because they mentioned both.
Yeah. So I want to know. Well, this would require homework. Is it British or is it Columbia? Why did they call it that? But that would involve boring homework.
British Columbia.
Beautiful.
I like the intro. Oh, the intro. The intro changed.
Yes.
From last season.
Yeah. She's using a word processor, computer now.
Yeah, a little more PC action going.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, when they're doing the title, Murder She, and then it went She Wrote or something, but it was on a computer screen in big font. I love that. And then instead of typing and then pulling the paper out of the what do you call those rollers?
Yeah, rollers. I think they're just called rollers.
Is that what it is? Rollers. Okay. Instead of pulling that out and placing it down, we find out, or she closed that leather binder with the title of the show. Now she's pulling it off the printer.
Fancy laser printer.
I just wish it had those. I just wish it had those little dots that were on or those little what do you call it, sprockets on the sides of the paper.
Like a dot matrix machine, like we had when I have an Apple IIc, and. Right. My grandparents would give me the toner cartridges for Christmas because they were so fucking expensive, and I printed a lot of stuff that I would write and all that. Now I do want to know,
and porn,
Steve, we didn't go on the computer for porn back then. We had to find our dad's porn, find our dad's porn, or go out in the woods and find some porn that somebody dumped there. Woods porn, that's the best kind of porn. It's like, wow.
I still remember to this day, when we're never going to talk about tonight's episode.
No.
I still remember to this day when I was living with my mother and stepfather in an apartment community and taking the trash out to the dumpster. Oh, it's like a big old metal bin. And you would slide the door open so you can throw your trash in. So I don't know why, I just would always look in there to see if there's any furniture or toys or I don't know what the fuck I was doing. But I remember as I'm throwing in the garbage, there was a pile of Playboys laying, and I grabbed those. That was such an amazing find for I don't know, it must have been about 10, something like that.
I have my own porn stories, but really, we really got to talk about Murder, She Wrote. Now, I just want to point out that if you watch the credit sequence, or not credit sequence, opening theme tune, she's got the laser printer, but she's using it in her house in Cabot Cove. So, I don't know. Does she go back and forth between New York and Cabot Cove?
She's got to. Yeah, she's obviously an international traveler.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, so she's traveling to go to maybe the wedding's in Alaska.
Could be,
because she's traveling to she's traveling to go to a niece's wedding. And I got to say, first off, the scenery in this episode is absolutely beautiful. I mean, just what a gorgeous part of the world. It's just, full of nature, trees, rivers, bears, bees, stuff.
Yeah. So we see her. Oh wait, we open up to somebody is stealing something. We're not sure what it is, but if you looked at the Tonight on Murder, She Wrote, you know that it's a box of explosives. I think it's dynamite.
Dynamite!
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good, sir. And then we see Jessica. She's flying in on this little, I'd call it a death trap, because I wouldn't get in that fucking thing. I don't care whose wedding it is. I'm like, I have to fly in that in the mountains? No, thank you. Because even big planes, when you fly over the mountains, the air currents don't. I know that they cause a lot of turbulence, and there's besides her and the pilot, there's two other people on the plane, and that's a guy named Hamish McPherson, which is not an Irishman, and there's
but he's racist.
Yeah, you got to be.
There's a lot of racism going on in this episode, by the way.
He insults the Indians, the Native Americans. They called them Indians back then.
First Nations.
First Nations. Okay, yeah. He says something derogatory about them when he's obviously sitting right across from a Native American gentleman. The Native American gentleman is
Peter.
Go ahead.
Peter Henderson.
And he's the only actor in this that I recognized. He was in a very famous movie. He had an Academy Award nomination for it. You may have heard of it. Came out in 1990. A fellow named Graham Greene. Have you seen Dances with Wolves?
Of course, yeah.
He plays
Kevin Costner.
Yeah. He was that was his. He's been in many things because. Halloween 5: The Revenge.
But in this one, he. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. He plays a lawyer in this particular episode. We don't know who Hamish McPherson, what his business is. Just that he's retired, and he's racist, and he doesn't like computers. Because Jessica's there just typing away. I guess she's not suffering from writer's block. She's got a great idea, and she's trying to ignore him. But as McPherson is insulting the First Nations, I think Peter kind of shuts him down, and Jessica. There was no texting back then, but she types out in like large 24-inch font, nice one. Yeah, to him. Why she should have said something out loud like, "Sir, that is not appropriate," and thank you, Peter. You had a very good. No, she wanted to keep it a secret.
Well, this is before social justice warriors. I mean, there were obviously in this episode there are justice warriors, but did you notice? She not only does she have a laser printer now, but she's got a laptop, and that thing must be jacked up on a batteries because obviously it's not plugged in that little plane, and it was a Compaq brand laptop. And by the way. This episode is full of product endorsements. You just have to look carefully. I don't think they're really product endorsements.
Oh, well, yeah, you go to the general store.
You got Peterbilt, trucks, Ford, Bufferin aspirin.
Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah, ibuprofen. Uh-huh. Did you know that this is the same season that, and I didn't know this until Pushing Up Roses did an expose on it, but the VR episode is in this season.
Yeah, I saw that.
So computers take a heavy influence on this season, apparently.
Yeah, really. Yes, indeed. Huh.
Maybe she's finishing the story for that particular episode because they're
maybe she's hoping to by the end of season 12 she turns into a cyborg. No, I don't think that's going to happen, Steve. Sorry. It's going to be like RoboCop, but it was going to be J.B. Robot, writer of mysteries and crime solver. Bum bum bum.
So there's a problem with the flight. Buzz is the pilot here, and so they get grounded. So she cannot leave. She's stuck in Dominion, and there's no way out. There's got to be work done on the flight before it can take off again, or she's got to wait until Monday for the bus, which would be excruciating to do, I would imagine.
Yeah, and
a long trip.
Buzz helps her check into this hotel, and he says something like, my competitor gets 99% of my business or something like that. And I actually rewound it because I didn't understand what he said. And I'm like, you know what? That's an offhand comment. This is Murder, She Wrote. Therefore, it's a clue. It's him. Like immediately.
Yeah. He was one of my primary suspects, definitely.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to our one of our main characters, Rick Shipley. Now he's an asshole. I mean, this town. If you're white in this town, you were written to be an asshole.
Oh, and this guy's got victim all over him. I was like, when is Rick going to die? I'm looking at my watch. Rick, when are you going to die? Rick, are you dead yet? So Rick is a employee or a manager, I guess you would say, of a company called Aurora Hills, which wants to go through the area called Hobart Creek and basically raise it to the ground to build condos or retail spaces. And his argument is that this helps everybody involved. You guys get more jobs and more money, and the Native Americans, the First Nations people, are kind of like, this is our sacred ground. You can't touch it. This actually, when I was in law school, I took part in what they call, I can't remember what they call it, but it was basically the free clinic. And my first case was in Corpus Christi. They had a Native American tribe down there back in the day called Tonkawas. And they found some Tonkawa remains, and they brought them to the University of San Antonio. and our client wanted them to be brought back to their proper burial site in Corpus Christi. And this guy was a true Native American. He had the long black hair. He would dress in leather. He had a bag of some kind of scent around his... He was really cool. I can't remember his name, though. We ended up leaving the case because my boss had an argument with somebody. But anyway, so there's this kind of a standoff, and this old Native American guy shows up. His name is Joe Quill. And he's like, everybody relax, and, I'm an old guy, and you should listen to me. I guess we should talk about my future husband, George Quill, who is among the protesters. He's, it's implied that he's kind of a troublemaker, but we'll get there, okay? And and he's basically the older. Now, George's grandfather Joe, it kind of barters some peace between the two parties, which is between all the First Nation. They're all young men, and they're all angry. This is our land, and then you got Shipley and his people wanting to blow up stuff. So he kind of calms things down and just tells them, like, hey, look, got a lawyer coming. He's on his way, and you're going to risk your life, and you're going to get nowhere. Which I kind of like that. He talked reason to the younger people, which I liked. But yeah, his grandson George is very hot-headed. Your future husband is very hot-headed. You probably saw saw this, and you were probably like, "Oh, I bet you Sean likes him."
No, actually, I did not think of that. I usually pick up on those things. But we're also introduced at this point to the RCMP. That's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Sergeant Hilda DuPont. She's a very small woman. Got a beautiful smile, but I'm just surprised she's in charge of the police over there. But she's in law enforcement, and she's trying to help Joe with his efforts and trying to have peace or barter peace.
Yeah. So when in the IMDb little tiny synopsis, they say Jessica helps out the mounted police by solving two murders, by helping to solve two murders. And I was a little disappointed. I forgot that she was in the mounted police. I mean, it makes sense she is. She's in Canada. But I really wanted to see some guys in those red uniforms. And remember there was a show it was a comedy?
Yes.
I can't remember what it was called.
It was a mystery show, wasn't it? It was like... Are we thinking about the same thing? It must be.
I think so. I never watched it, so I was like, well, that looks dumb. I'm never going to watch that.
Neither did I.
Yeah, I'd rather go watch Mr. Smith in Washington or whatever. Do you remember that one? I don't think it was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, but it was set in Washington. And Mr. Smith was kind of like Alf, except instead of an alien, the main character was a talking chimpanzee. And he would wear suits. This is a fucking thing, I absolutely promise. Just like the Charmings, and he was really smart, and he would talk and everything. Yes, this.
Are you sure this isn't a drug-fueled nightmare that you had?
No. Just like the Charmings was an actual show, and it's on TV now, or on YouTube now. The Charmings. It was Prince Charming and Snow White, and they live in modern day suburbia. And the Prince Charming's mother is like the evil queen, and she's trying to ruin all their fun. It was so.
Did you?
No, this is an actual fucking thing. Go on YouTube and check it out. On the other hand, I found out about the show called The Associates, which is set in the 80s in New York.
Never heard of it.
At a law firm, and it stars Martin Short in the lead, and their boss is Wilfred Hyde White, who was in a couple episodes of Columbo. He played the lawyer in Last Salute to the Commodore, and he played the butler in Dagger of the Mind. He lived here because he was evading taxes in England. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, he did like Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, he was very, very prolific. What's the word? Prolific, profitable? I don't know. So Jessica and Peter and Hamish McPherson, and Buzz the pilot, they all check into this rather charming-looking bed and breakfast run by a lady named Marie. Now,
Marie, yeah.
I will bring this up now. I wrote down Marie, thinking, oh, she's not going to do much in this story, so I didn't write down her last name. But I did notice that IMDb said that her last name was Comanche, okay, which is important later on. So Hamish wants to take Jessica out to dinner, and
because she is the new girl in town. She's the fresh blood. I swear, everybody wants to sleep with. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong and I'm misinterpreting, but every time Jessica comes in town, everybody's so excited to see her. It's like something new, or she goes to New York City, and all the guys are like, "Oh, gotta take her out to dinner." Everybody wants to take Jessica out for dates whenever she arrives.
Let's take Jessica out. That should be the movie. There's a movie called "Let's Scare Jessica to Death." But
so I want to say something real quick before I forget. So one of the things about Columbo is that Columbo would always recognize somebody famous. Like it was an author or a film actress or I don't know. It was always somebody famous. And like, oh, my wife, she's a big fan of yours. Wait, she won't believe, that I met so-and-so. And it was always funny. But with Murder, She Wrote, she's the famous person. And everybody always recognizes her.
And usually it's only like...
Because Columbo was not famous. No one recognized him. But he would always recognize... whoever the suspect was.
The thing is that if Jessica existed in real life, she probably wouldn't be famous for her books. She'd be famous for, that lady who solved all those crimes. That's one thing. When I was going through Agatha Christie, there's Miss Marple, who's an obvious influence of Jessica Fletcher, and Miss Marple was a dowdy old woman, and she would, solve crimes in her little town. But, she didn't go... Nobody... It's like every book, it was like, let's forget about all the things that Miss Marple solved before. It's like, Hercule Poirot, however, was known for solving crimes. So I think that might be a little sexist there, Agatha Christie, but whatever. So, Peter Henderson... And by the way, I don't think his name is really Peter Henderson. But he kind of saves the day and steps in and says, well, I'm having dinner with Mrs. Fletcher. And he's really cool. And if these two hooked up and had a baby, that would be one good-looking baby. Just got to say. Now I wish I hadn't. Why did I say that? Because now I'm just picturing them.
I don't know.
Okay, maybe younger versions. I don't know. Stop it, Sean. Whatever. And by the way, the actor that plays McPherson has looked very familiar to me, and I looked him up, and he wasn't in anything that I've seen, so I don't know.
No, he's got to be, because he looks familiar to me, too. I didn't look up IMDb, but are you sure? Like, I feel like he was in some sci-fi films in the 80s. I don't know.
Well, let me look it up, and while I'm looking it up, entertain the readers with, I don't know, a brilliant story.
Okay, so I will just keep moving along in the plot here. So JB ends up going to the local general store, which is run by Joe Quill, and she ends up bumping into George. George is just sitting in the back sketching pictures of animals, which is actually comes into play later. He's actually sketching a hawk, which will be important at the very end of this episode. But
wait, I know where I know.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry.
What?
We have seen him in something. Okay, first of all, he was in a movie that I have not seen, but I'm willing to bet you have. Big Trouble in Little China. He was in...
Yes. What was he?
He plays Pinstripe something. He was in Pinstripe, because the app on the phone doesn't let you see the whole name. He was in The Firm, which, fuck that movie. But I think his most famous role was in The X-Files as Deep Throat. That's not the smoking man, but I think he comes in later on. So,
very good. Thank you for that. Interrupting me.
Well, no, I was.
So I like that JB or Jessica. She goes by the book rack. The little book rack that you see in airports and stuff like that, and little spinning book rack. And all her books are listed. Now, I didn't pause it to take a look at all the titles to see if those correspond with anything, but this thought was funny.
The corpse walked at midnight, or waltzed. The corpse danced at midnight. Actually, I'm at that scene right now. Let me see. She's talking to George. Blah 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 blah. Oh, never mind. Oh, you know who George reminds me of, and I don't know the name of the actor, but he played Bobby in Twin Peaks, and I always thought he was very good looking, and then I found out years later he's Daphne Ashbrook's brother. So, all right.
What?
This actor in Twin Peaks turned out to be Daphne Ashbrook's brother. Okay. All right. Anyway.
So so George is leaving the store and he gets jumped by Shipley and somebody he calls Bigfoot. So, loving stories about Sasquatch, I was quite thrilled to hear that and drew my attention.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. It wasn't. The books are The Dead Man Sang, The Corpse Danced at Midnight, The Umbrella Murders, and The Killer something. Anyway, that's not that. And the Killer Called, or something like that. And the covers of the books are horrible. They look like they were drawn by a 15-year-old. Why didn't they have George draw it? We know that he's a good drawer. Anyway.
Right?
Yeah. Keep on keeping on.
So George gets jumped and he gets beaten up. And thankfully, Jessica saves him.
Yes.
Great timing.
Of course. Well, she's got to be hot in the middle of everything. Looking at some of the products that they have in the store here, some of these I remember. We've got some 44D and 44M. I don't know what that is. Gillette.
What?
The products in the store.
Gillette. Okay, it's still around.
Yeah, Buffer
and
Micro Magic. I'm not sure what that is. I think it might be. I think it might be something. I don't know what that is. It looks like it might be like ramen, and you put it in the microwave. I don't know. And there's no prices on anything because it's not a real store. I don't know if you know that, but yeah. I'm so sorry.
They had some gum. Did you see the gum by the register?
Yeah, they had Wrigley's.
I'm sure. I saw Wrigley's. I saw Big Red.
Oh man, do they still make that?
I don't know.
I don't know if I like Big Red that much. Oh, Juicy Fruit is another one. Yeah.
Juicy Fruit. Yeah.
Shrimp is $5.99 a pound. I don't know how much it is a pound now.
Wow. Yeah. It's more like $10 now.
Well, inflation.
But I'm sure it's probably. I'm sure up in that part of the country, it's probably more fresh than what we get in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Or in Dallas.
It comes from the Gulf. You don't necessarily want to put it in your mouth. I remember when I was a little boy, we went on a vacation to New England, and I remember we ordered lobster, and it was like $3 a meal, and that was in the 80s. Okay, we went there just recently, and everybody in the restaurant ordered the same thing. It was the special. It was the 2 lobster meal. You get 2 full lobsters. I was going to say live lobsters, but no. The 2 recently killed lobsters that you had to take apart and pull the meat out. $40. And, I don't know why my 46-year-old head thought that the price of the lobster wasn't going to change after 30 years, but, okay, I'm sorry.
What's lobster?
Yeah, it's always been expensive, but, yeah. I love shrimp, by the way. Shrimp is like one of my favorite foods, and my parents and I would always go to Bennigan's. That we really did. Like every other weekend, we went to Bennigan's, and on the way there in the car, my dad would say one of 2 things. He'd say, "Don't fill up on bread before your meal," and the other thing he would say, "Don't order shrimp again. Shrimp is expensive." I was constantly reminded that the things that I'm ordering in a restaurant were expensive. Anyway. So George gets...
your father must have loved you. Yeah.
Yeah, he listens to this podcast, so it'll be like...
So going to Red Lobster was a guilt trip, pretty much, is what you're saying.
We're going to Red Lobster. What do you want me to order? The tilapia? Come on. And that was back in the day. They didn't...
Yeah, order... You can have the hamburger.
We did go to Red Lobster a lot, too. And back then I hated it, and I went a couple times when I was older, and I realized I still hate it, except for those biscuits. Love those biscuits. Anyway.
Yeah, the biscuits great. You can buy those at the grocery store, by the way. It's a little box, and you just mix it, and they come out really good. I mean, really good. Enjoy those. And those disappeared because of COVID. I cannot find them.
Really?
Anyways, back to
or
this
you know
episode.
what? You get there,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Back
oh my
to
god, I'm going to order that delicious-looking giant margarita drink. And it has beads coming out of it and everything like it. And then you get it, and there's probably like 1 ounce of alcohol in there. And you're like, well, I'm not buzzed at all. Of course, that's us. I mean, we're like, well, we drink a lot.
Well, you just get the biscuits, and you'll be fine.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Okay, so
We're introduced.
Hilda, that's the police officer. She's
way too young to be named Hilda, by the way.
And I think she's way too young to be any kind of relationship with Peter. That's the lawyer.
Now,
First Nations lawyer.
All right, I looked it up. Because I thought the same thing. It turns out that they're only 4 years apart in real life. He's 4 years older than she is, and it doesn't look like it. I think she just looks really good for her age.
Yeah. But, so they apparently had some kind of love fling before he took off. He grew up in the area, but when he turned 17, he had to get out of there and change himself. He wasn't happy. He didn't want to be like his parents, or especially his father, who was an alcoholic. So he went away, became a high-powered lawyer, drives a Jaguar, lives in God knows what, and smokes. Oh no, not smoke. He probably does coke and what else? What do high-powered lawyers do?
They make drunk podcasts. Oh wait, you said high-powered lawyers. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. What do you think I said?
Well, I just heard lawyers. I didn't hear the high-powered thing. Okay, so they had this conversation at lunch, and immediately I'm like, okay, we never get into the personal life of the detective in the show, because there's always that other detective that's not Jessica, the police sergeant or whatever. So I'm like, you know what? Mm-hmm. I think she might be the murderer. And
really, you suspected the sheriff, or not the sheriff, the sergeant?
Yeah, she was okay. First, it was Buzz. Then I kind of forgot about Buzz. And when they had this conversation, I'm like, you know what? She's really adorable. She's not suspicious. She's the murderer. I'm like, it's always got to be somebody you really don't suspect.
But what would be? Did you have a motive in mind, or just that she just was the least?
I don't know.
Least likely to be the killer.
There's motives all over the town. I mean, the 3/4 of the story is about, the Aurora Hills Company coming in to raise, the wildlife to the ground, and I figured maybe it was somewhere about that, but she didn't really have an investment emotionally in the First Nations people. So I don't know. I just figured it might be her. I mean, but to be fair, the motive for the murders, and we haven't gotten to a murder yet here in our Murder, She Wrote show.
No, we haven't.
Is really out of left field. Like, I like it when you're able to solve it, and I almost sort of did solve it because of something that I'll get to, but the motive for the crime is like, what? We just got from 1 to 10 and... But we'll get there. We're getting there. Let's talk about McPherson.
So Hamish McPherson visits Rick Shipley, and he begins to describe this bank robbery. The First Atlantic Bank. There's this bank robber named Nicholas Jensen Davis, and and so this bank robbery ended up killing a cop, and there was a huge $100,000 reward for him. It sounded like almost like this bank robber. They never found him. He disappeared. I was getting kind of the D.B. Cooper vibe from it.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with that case.
Yeah, I haven't had a thought about that in a long time. I love that case.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting case. And that guy is probably living somewhere, in the wilderness with the thousands of millions of dollars that he has.
I'll bet you he's dead by now. But you think? Did you ever see that movie, A Simple Plan, with Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton? Where they live out in...
Is that about it?
Well, it's not exactly, but they live out in like Alaska or something like this town, and they find a crashed plane in the woods, and inside the plane are some dead bodies and a sachet, a valet, a briefcase. That's the word I'm looking for. Briefcase full of like $5 million or something like that. So they take the money, but they have to, in order to cover up the fact that they take the money, they have to do. There's 3 of them that find the money, and they have to do things that just gets spiraling out of control. Where first they have to tell a lie, then they have to do this. Oh no! Now they've got to murder a witness. And excellent, great movie. Billy Bob Thornton got an Academy Award nomination, but it's very sad because it is Bill Paxton in it, and he left us too soon. So,
yeah, what a great actor. Okay, so we find out McPherson, or Hamish McPherson, is that ex-cop. He was assigned to this case, and as such had retired, but he had always thought about this case. He was always on it, trying to find out more. He became obsessed with it until he saw a photo that was taken during the standoff that took place earlier in the episode of Shipley with the First Nations on that standoff, and he recognized that person as the bank robber. And so he was basically saying, and I think even Shipley, who is the bank robber, by the way, he says, so this isn't about the reward. And the guy's like, no, this is about, well, he didn't say this verbatim, but pretty much it was for blackmail. Like, I will keep you covered up, but you got to keep me and my wife in a comfortable position. Like, you're gonna have to pay us off.
So this is basically the beginning of any given Columbo episode.
Yeah, right. And so pretty much in my mind, I'm thinking Hamish, he dead at this point.
So what does Shipley tell him? Okay, come to my house tonight. I'll let you
at 10.
At 10.
In Alaska, I cannot imagine, out in the wilderness, there's probably no lights. And there's like a billion places you can hide a body out there, right?
And, you can use the extra car I have out there, the extra work truck.
Right, so he'll know when he's coming.
And the keys are in there for you. But, okay, see you later there, Mr. McPherson. And so later that night, Hamish McPherson, does exactly that. And we discussed this before we started recording, there is a bridge that he's crossing. And you pointed out that you guessed it was just the bridge that led to the front of Shipley's house. But little does McPherson know that there's a murderer nearby. And when he or she sees him...
which has some dynamite in their possession.
And when he or she sees poor McPherson crossing the bridge, the wires are crossed, and bang! The middle of the bridge explodes.
Ego boom.
Yeah, and McPherson is dead.
Bada boom.
All right, so we have a guy.
Well, hold on. During this whole time, by the way, we got to say that Jessica's on a date with Peter, the lawyer, at the local Crackle Barrel. Actually, no, not really. It looks like Cracker Barrel to me, but it's the restaurant inside the hotel.
You know what? I'm gonna lose some Texan cred here. I mean, not that I have a lot anyway. I have never been to Cracker Barrel.
Right. You ain't missing much, buddy. I like movie theaters. I have the worst experience at Cracker Barrels. I don't know what the fuck. I've stopped going to Cracker Barrel. It's really it's whenever we go. They got great food, but it's literally the worst dining experiences for whatever reason. The waitress. I'm not going to go into it. We don't have. I want to add another 10 minutes to the podcast.
Okay, all right.
Bitching about Cracker Barrel. No, we're moving on.
They can
like
just
Barrel.
go to the. They don't like the gays, or they didn't used to like the gays, but that has changed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were very homophobic, much like another fast food chain that I won't name.
Chick-fil-A?
Yeah. They didn't like the gays.
Oh, I named them. Oopsies.
What?
I said oopsies.
They don't like the gays, or they didn't like the gays. Then they like the gays. Now they don't like the gays again because they're giving money to anti-gay organizations. But my God, I'm old now, and it's like I'm a fat man before a gay. That's a Fortune Femster quote, by the way. And but the thing is, I don't want to sit in the drive-thru for 20 minutes, so fuck it.
Well, like it's yesterday. My wife and I were driving around town, and I think it was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We passed by Chick-fil-A. They had a line wrapped around the store at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. What the fuck? Who's eating Chick-fil-A at that time of day? It's between lunch and dinner. And not only I'm going to say this about Chick-fil-A, and also not that I've had bad experiences at Chick-fil-A myself, but I remember them being much better. Like the Chick-fil-A now, it's okay. It's not bad, but it's not as good as it used to be. When I was in high school, I had my first job, and I would go at the mall. I was working at the mall, and there was a Chick-fil-A right next to us. I would eat there every day. It was so delicious, but it doesn't taste the same. It's not as good.
Well, not
as good as it was back in the 90s.
When I would work in the mall with my teenage metabolism, I would eat Sbarro pizza the other day, and I thought it was really good. I didn't know what the fuck I was... Yeah.
Is Sbarro pizza not good anymore? Are they even around anymore?
I don't think they're around anymore, but by the time I grew up, I went and had it again. Sbarro pizza. Nope, it's not good. It's only good to like teenage taste buds or something like that.
Oh, I used to love it. You'd order by the slice, and that the bottom would be toasted. Oh, so wonderful.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore, huh? Okay, so what happens
As we have a little pity party for Sbarro. Tune in next time when we talk about Cinnabon. I go on about that place, too. Can't eat there anymore.
Are they gone?
What?
Are they no longer a thing?
No, I think they are. It's just I don't have that much.
At airports?
No, I think... Yeah, I've seen them at airports, but I don't really go to the mall anymore, so I wouldn't eat them. I mean...
But malls aren't... You don't see malls.
I guess. Anyway, yeah, it's like 2 days' worth of calories to have one regular Cinnabon.
Right? Yeah. Right. Okay, so Jessica, we see her back at the hotel... and I guess she's getting ready to check out. And we see Marie. She's on the phone, and she's talking to some contractor. And she's saying, "Yes, I've already cleared out the tree stumps. So you're gonna pour the foundation today, right?" So that's a clue, by the way.
And I knew it was a clue because why would they have it in there?
I don't know. I didn't even think it would be a clue until it was brought up at the end of the story.
Really?
That is a clue.
Yeah,
I totally went over my head.
This is when I then suspected Marie. I'm like, I have no idea what the motive is, but I think it might be her.
No.
Okay.
But we find out Buzz has got the plane ready. It's gassed up and ready to go. But there's a call. They found George. George had gone missing, by the way, and they found George, and he's being arrested. So she heads to the police department, and they go to find out, where he's been, and kind of, I guess, find out, what his issue is, because we do find out during this interview that he's kind of a violent kid. He's got violent tendencies. He tends to jump before he looks. Is that the phrase? But he's got a bit of a temper. And so he's already like the main suspect.
Yeah. By the way, I think every episode we've seen out of 10, there is this character. There's the Patsy character, the one that gets arrested. Like last episode, it was that lady, and I can't remember her name. The lady that had agoraphobia. She gets arrested at one time. Or Jessica's friend, who's a fashion designer. Oh, she must. We'll arrest her, and then Jessica becomes almost like a lawyer. And this is her client, and she has to prove this person's innocence. And just once, I would like it to be her friend or her nephew or niece or whatever that turns out to be the murderer. But maybe that did happen one time. I haven't seen every episode, so I'm not sure. So what happens next, Steve?
So you want Grady to be the killer, is what you're saying?
Yes, I think that would be.
I would like to see that.
That's like the last episode.
I really would.
They did that with... I'm not going to... That's a big spoiler. I'm not going to say that. Okay.
Yeah, don't spoil things, no.
Even if the thing is 80 years old, and written by.
Okay, so they go back to the crime scene. Jessica, Peter, and Hilda, or the sergeant, head out to the crime scene. And I like how they're just combing everything, looking for any kind of evidence. They're really not finding anything. But Jessica happens to look down and finds a little fleck of yellow paint in the ground. Now, if you saw a little piece of yellow paint in the dirt, would you be like, that's a clue?
No, I'd be like,
no, it's just trash.
Yeah, but no, it's TV, so she has to find stuff that's there, even though the area has been combed by, a squad of cops. So,
Yeah, so, at one point the sergeant calls Shipley to kind of confirm something, and he's dead. He's dead, too. So now we have got 2 murders, and it looks like, though, he committed suicide. It looks like he kind of blew his brains out. But we find out later that wouldn't make sense, because he had been making plans to leave town just hours before.
Yeah.
And why would you commit suicide if you were making arrangements to leave?
Right, exactly. And of course, he was making plans to leave town, I think, because he was afraid of being blamed for McPherson's murder.
Well, and McPherson even said, like, something happens to me, my wife she's got all the details, and if something happens to her, then this information is going to get sent to the press. So he knows that no matter what, it's going to go down bad for him. So he's got to get out of Dodge.
Right. I'm just noting, so right now, in the scene when they get George, after he's stolen the dynamite.
Right. Oh yeah, we do find out that he's the one that stole the dynamite at the beginning. And by the way, there are 3 sticks missing. And I think they somehow figured out that it was 3 sticks that were used for the murder. Somehow, I can't remember how they found that out. But
in every murder mystery,
so he looks like the prime suspect.
Right. In every murder mystery, the murderer has to have 3 things: motive, means, and opportunity. Now, my question to you is, when did our murderer in question have the opportunity to steal those 3 sticks of dynamite? It's never explained.
Well, not for George, if that's what you mean. No, I mean, if you want to talk about the actual killer, you want to go ahead and
we may as well. The actual.
Okay,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So the actual. Well, hold on. We're getting right there. Hold on. So let's talk about how Jessica finds out it's who the killer is, and it's not George, by the way. So once they discover about McPherson and there'd be no reason for suicide, they do discover that McPherson was an ex-cop, and he worked on this bank robbery. And she's confused, like, well, I don't understand. None of these things are matching or leading to one another, so I'm stumped. And Jessica had a little light bulb that went off in her head when she said that. The I'm stumped. And she concludes, aha, I know who the killer is. I have the motive. Definitely doesn't have the opportunity, though, because I've got a problem with that. I'm glad you mentioned that earlier. So it's actually Marie, the person who runs the bed and breakfast. Because that phone call she made to the contractor, she had dynamite because she was clearing the stumps herself. And we found out later that her husband was the police officer that was killed during the bank robbery. And so her intent was to get revenge on Rick Shipley, because him being the bank robber, she was planning to kill him. Unfortunately, the little explosion on the little bridge, that was meant for Rick and not for McPherson, and she accidentally killed him. She didn't mean to, but she ended up killing 2 people in the process.
Okay, so here's a fun fact. How do you get rid of tree stumps? Do you use dynamite? No! That's too powerful, and you could hurt somebody or something if you use dynamite to clear a tree stump. We had a tree stump in front of our old house, and I don't know, I didn't see the machine they used, but they basically do use a machine that just grinds it all up, and you have a circle of sawdust. where the stump was.
Right.
And your cat's pooping it because they think it's a litter box. I'm not kidding. That's what they did. It's
That's
like, go
bizarre.
look at that.
Okay.
I'm going to shit in that.
That's a great place to take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I did not know that. Thanks for enlightening
yeah.
me.
So Marie, no, Marie, sir, no, you're not going. So instead of clearing out her property so they could lay the foundation, she decides that she's going to use the dynamite that she stole to commit murder. You know, instead of using it for something legal.
No. She didn't steal it. She had dynamite. She didn't steal it. It just happens to be that 3 sticks were missing from George's box of dynamite that was used. It just was a coincidence.
Okay, so
and he stole the dynamite. But by the way, he stole the dynamite because he didn't want Shipley to blow up any more animals.
okay, all right, that's fine, but you can just order more dynamite. So it was her dynamite.
Right. That she bought for removing stumps.
All right. Okay. You know what? She's going to spend the rest of her life behind bars because if I'm the prosecution, I'm going to call up the place that she bought the dynamite from. I'm going to call an expert to testify how you remove tree stumps from the property. And
I think that's pretty normal back then, Sean.
think so?
I mean, yeah, you could buy one of those stump grinder things, but I think back then people would use dynamite to do that.
okay, all right, I'll take your word for it. Okay.
But the problem I have with her being the killer, like you said, the opportunity. She mentions in this episode, Marie, that, oh, I'm sorry, because she's like waiting on tables, she's doing the front desk and serving drinks, whatever. You know, she even says, I've been so busy turning beds, checking in guests, getting drink, whatever. She admits, I've been busy. I'm so sorry I haven't been here. I haven't been the best of hosts for you. So when did she have the opportunity to do this?
Well, the murder occurred at 10 o'clock at night. And also...
But still, you think if she's so backlogged on her activities and maintaining the hotel or bed and breakfast, then when... I don't know.
I actually agree with you. I didn't think of that before, but I think that that's correct. Yeah. And she breaks down. By the way, when Jessica reveals that she's the killer, Bugsy, what's his name? Buzz Berkeley walks into the scene, and it's like, oh, this is it. It's him. It's him. She's going to uncover it all now. But no, he just says something like, oh, the plane is all ready or something like that. And Jessica actually began to suspect Marie when she noticed that she took down the picture of her and her dead husband from the desk. Bad move, Marie. Bad move. Too obvious.
But why would she do that?
I don't know. Maybe she was like, I've avenged you, my love. Now I can forget all about you. I don't know.
Maybe.
It was... I just don't know. I don't get that at all.
I think it would have been more entertaining if her and Buzz worked together.
You know what? Yeah, that could work.
Because Buzz was hurting for money because he had lost a major contract with Shipley, and he was madly in love with her, and she could have said, "Well, I'll sleep with you if you take care of this situation for me." I don't know. Just a thought.
But the killing Shipley,
it could be co-conspirators.
Killing Shipley still wouldn't prevent Aurora Hills from coming in and raising everything down to the ground. So, I don't know. The cop who was killed, Marie's dead husband, his name is like Frank Naismith or something like that. And her last name is Comanche on IMDb. And I think, don't quote me for this, but no, maybe not. I think Jessica's late husband is also named Frank.
Right. That's right.
Anyway, that's Northern Explosion. Oh, I forgot to update the numbers. So far, almost every episode, we have had a different mode of murder, except for there were 2 bludgeonings, I think. There's 3 stabbings, 3 bludgeonings, 1 shooting, 1 poisoning, 1 hit and run, and a hanging. Well, now
and a partridge in a pear tree.
We have 2 shootings now, and we have an explosion. So
By dynamite, yeah.
Explosion. I know for a fact that there's another explosion in another episode, but that's really nobody cares, Sean. All right, so we have 2 male victims and 1 female murderer. So there have been 9 male murderers so far and only 4 female murderers, 9 male victims and 3 female victims. But you know what? The disproportionate there between male murderers and female murderers is accounted for by the very first episode, Funeral at 50 Mile, in which there are 4 male murderers. So,
yeah.
Isn't it fascinating? Are you fascinated by these facts, Steve?
I
do this
am.
for you. I'm doing the Lord's work here, Steve.
Oh, you do it for me?
And for the readers.
Thank
And
you.
for the readers. Thank you. Okay. Well, all right. What are we going to rate this out of? Because I have a couple numbers in mind, but let me see if I can guess where you get the numbers from.
All right, so this is actually going to be 1 out of $100,000.
Oh, okay.
That's what do you think it was going to be?
38, which is the address of the store, I think.
Huh. I catch that.
Okay, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, and by the way, the 100,000 was the amount of the reward for finding the bank robber.
All right, I'm going to give this a... This one is hard. Because when you don't like it, it's easy. When it's really good, it's easy. But when you get somewhere in between, it's kind of hard to rate it. I mean, I don't want to be cruel to the episode because it wasn't a terrible piece of television. So I'm going to give it $59,421 out of 100,000.
Wait, what? 59,000.
54,000. No, 59. What? I don't remember what I said. I'll just say 55,000 out of $921. You have a spreadsheet where you keep all this, don't you?
Yeah, I am writing this down. So $55,921
and 0 cents.
Okay.
All right. This mostly doesn't suck. But here's the thing. You know, we've seen this in other stories before, where we have the altercation between the native people and the evil construction company that's going to come in and raise the forest to the ground so they can build, high-risers or condos or something. I've seen this before, like, a lot. However, this is 1994, so maybe that would be a little bit more topical then than it would be now. It still is topical, I think. But I remember there was a movie with Steven Seagal, and he played like a Native American guy, and he fights this big company led by Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? Don't ask me what it's called.
Sounds familiar. Yeah, I don't know what it's called either.
Yeah, and there's been a couple horror movies about it. I remember there was one where this company moves into this town, and they're putting chemicals in the water, and they cause a bear to mutate. And the bear goes around and kills a bunch of people. And to see this bear, as Roger Ebert would say, is to hate the bear. But anyway. There is this movie.
That's very
There's 2 movies.
To see the bear is to hate the bear.
There's 2 movies named Jack Frost. One is a horror movie, and the other one is a Christmas movie where Michael Keaton...
It's also a horror film.
Michael Keaton...
I've tried watching that. Have you seen that one, by the way? It's horrible.
The horror movie?
I cannot watch all of it.
Oh.
No, the Michael Keaton.
Oh, okay. No, I've never seen it, but, like... folks, if you've never heard of this movie, not the horror movie Jack Frost, that's actually better than the nice family movie Michael Keaton was in. It's where I think he dies in the beginning, and then his spirit goes into a snowman. It's just like Child's Play, because that's what happens in Child's Play. And in his review of the movie, which he gave like maybe 1 star or half a star, Roger Ebert wrote, "To see the snowman is to hate the snowman." And he's absolutely right. It's one of the funniest reviews I've ever read by Roger Ebert. So yeah.
By the way, Child's Play, and Cujo make an appearance in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Really? Really? Wait, the movies or actors from them?
Yeah, the films. Oh. Yeah, little Easter eggs.
Huh. Okay. Well, I'm just going to stick that. You know what I haven't seen that I've always wanted to see that has all tons of Easter eggs in it? Ready Player One. About this situation, the time.
Oh yeah, I never saw that either. Yeah, but that was more, I think, on the nose. Like, oh look, it's the giant or the Iron Giant. Oh look, it's the DeLorean. Oh look, it's whatever.
Oh, one other thing I want to mention.
I haven't given my review yet.
I just want to mention this. I think every single episode ends with a fast freeze frame of Jessica laughing. Like last episode, she ends up getting hooked up with her creepy neighbor, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to take Jessica to the Philharmonica. Oh, are you going to be okay? No, I'm sure Jessica won't mind." Cut to Jessica. Freeze frame, roll credits. They do it in this one too. So, I'm sorry, it's your turn.
Okay. Well, yeah, Northern Explosion. It's I don't know really what to say about this. I watched it twice today. I got caught up watching a movie, so I got a little behind on scheduling to watch, because I usually like to watch it earlier in the week and then watch it again for the review itself later in the closer to our recording. And I don't know if it's just because I watched it back to back for that purpose, but I really didn't enjoy it. It's not a bad episode, like you said. It's not horrible. We've seen some truly horrible episodes so far in this podcast, but and it's funny, I was gonna rate it very close to what you had. So you said 55,921. I was gonna give it I think it's a fair 60,000.
Okay.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I felt like there were some missed opportunities, absolutely. But as an episode itself, it's not very memorable, very forgettable.
Yeah,
and I just watched it twice, so it's an okay episode. I there's nothing really outstanding about it that makes it stick out. There's no. I mean, I felt like with the killer being Marie, and I don't know if this is just because we're reviewing a murder mystery show that's 45 minutes long, but I really felt like the major clue was that paint chip.
Yeah,
that was one of the main, and like that came out of nowhere. Yeah. I don't like that. I mean, there were other subtle clues, like you see the husband's picture on Marie's desk, but then it's missing in another scene. But then the conversation about this tree stumps.
I don't think that you're told that it's, or shown that it's missing, because I see Jessica looking in that direction, but they don't show that it's missing. And when they show that it's there, they're actually focusing on a file in McPherson's briefcase, and the picture is in the background. Really clever way of introducing a clue, but then they don't follow up with it. Obviously, we know about Marie is building a house, but man, that was so obvious. As soon as they do these banal.
Well, it went over my head. I did not get that.
I think you should have enough information for the viewer to solve it themselves. That's all I got to say about that.
All right.
So,
what about next week? Or, well, actually, I should say next episode, because next week we're taking off for Thanksgiving. So.
Yes, but I didn't release an episode last week because I got drunk and passed out. So tomorrow there will be an episode that... which one is dropping? Incident on Lot 7 is going to drop. So, actually, there will be an episode Thanksgiving Monday.
Holy shit. We're like 3 episodes away. I mean...
so we're in a good position to take a break. So, all right, Steve. Assuming I, actually edit the damn things, but I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just get carried away. All right, Steve. I want you to start spinning the season 11 Murder, She Wrote wheel. Wait, hold on. Let me get the cats. Hold on.
The cats? So am I spinning cats?
No, the cats.
What's going on?
They bring the wheel into the room.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
All right.
Wow.
I would
You train cats to do that. That's incredible.
You must hear him in the background. Meow, meow. Okay, Walter and Lucas. It's taking a long time because Lucas is doing it. The readers.
So while I'm spinning the cat wheel, I was having a discussion at work about Bob Barker. Speaking because he has that, you spin the wheel with the dollars on it, and he's still alive.
Still quite alive.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I saw him was in Happy Gilmore. That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, he's
still alive.
Probably can't see or hear or understand anything that's going around. I shouldn't say that. That's kind of mean. But yeah, he's Betty White gets the credit for like being almost 100 years old, and I think she is about to turn 100 if memory serves. But Bob Barker, no one thinks of him. Oh yeah, sometimes when you're like, oh, let me go on CNN and I'm going to read about the news and whatever is going on with whatever, COVID or the Malaysian airline that's still missing. Anyway, so I see there at the bottom, 24 celebrities who are still alive after being 90 years old or something like that. So I click on it, and this is dated in October of 2021. And I'm going through there, and these fools, I found like 7 people who were dead. Prince Philip isn't alive. He died months ago. Oh, they had Dean Stockwell on there too, but that's okay because he died after the article was printed. Angela Lansbury and Dick Van Dyke, of course, made this. I can't remember who was on there.
Still alive, yeah.
Somebody was on there that had been dead for like 2 years. But anyway, that's beside the point. People don't want to hear that. Spin the wheel, Steve.
I'm spinning. But, with Bob Barker, I wondered if there was a website kind of like what they used to have with Abe Vigoda. Is Abe Vigoda still alive? I think there needs to be a website. Is Bob Barker still alive?
Yeah. You know what's so awesome, too? When he died... Like, that website was up for years and years. And when he died, whoever it was had to pull the car over. Oh, my God, I'm going to go, And they were on it like that. Like, man, I think Abe Vigoda might be operating that website. It's probably like his son or his wife or something. I fucking hate Abe.
Probably. Well, holy shit, dude. I mean, Barney Miller was in the mid-70s. Yeah. He looked like he was old then. Yeah. I mean, God, people thought. I mean, everybody thought he was already gone until he made he had a short role in the Good Burger.
That memorable movie.
Oh my God! I hope that paid off his mortgage or something. Cause
I like to think his mortgage was already paid off. Okay, people are like, stop fucking talking and tell us what we're watching for the next episode. All right, it is the 8th episode of season 11, and it's called Crimson Harvest. Mm-hmm. And let's see what the old IMDb says about Crimson Harvest. Okay, now we have this.
You said it was season 11. What
episode 8? Crimson Harvest. The mysterious deaths of a winery matriarch's son and a rival vintner lead Jessica into a world of greed and betrayal. You could just literally...
I already know it's the Marino brothers. I already know who...
The Marino brothers! It's gone! The evil is gone from here! In part 2, it's... I shot him 6 times! 6 times! Let's see here. I don't recognize. Let's see. Joseph Call, Ishmael Carlo, Diane DeLando, Greg Henry, Lonnie Kazan. I know that name. David Newsom, Robert Pine, Leon Singer, Eddie Velez. Lonnie Kazan. I know that name. What is she in? Oh, you know who she is? She's the She's the mom in My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Do you remember that movie?
Okay, never saw it.
Really big when it came out. Starring
never saw it.
Nick Corbett, who played Chris in Northern Exposure. See, it all comes together, Steve.
Ah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Fascinating.
that's it for tonight. We hope you enjoyed our rambling and our little bunny trails, because that's why we do
Oh my
this.
God, we're all over.
Yeah, if we just had to just sit and just talk about a mediocre episode of Murder, She Wrote, this wouldn't be fun. So
we'd have dozens of more listeners.
Yeah. You know, not many Murder, She Wrote fans even know what a podcast is. So, all right. With that, everybody have a happy whatever holiday is next. It's either Thanksgiving or Christmas by the time this comes out. And say good night, Steve.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Adios. I'll see you later. Thank you for listening to the Cabot Cove Confab. If you've enjoyed it, please leave us a favorable review on Apple Podcasts. Also, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at Cabot Cove Confab, or email us at cabotcoveconfab@gmail.com.